This podcast is brought to you by the School of Advanced Study, University of London. All of our podcasts are available from our website, www.sas.ac.uk.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation to speak. And congratulations to AIG and Colombia on organising this seminar and bringing together so many different actors. The UK government has been working since September of 2011, so shortly after the UN endorsed the guiding principles, to draw on the guiding principles and formulate a UK strategy on business and human rights. To this end, we brought together a steering committee comprising people from across different departments in the government. We also engaged in outreach with civil society groups and also businesses, multinationals, but also SMEs, to get their input. A draft strategy is now actually out across Whitehall for final agreement from different departments of government, and we're quite close to having that agreement. And we hope to launch a strategy, therefore, in a finalised form in the near future. I'll just draw on that process and see where we've got to in responding to this issue of how the framework should be implemented. We started off actually looking and trying to understand exactly what are the guiding principles that John Ruggie had worked so hard to create over many years. It was clear that the guiding principles strike a very finely judged balance between different, often conflicting views of business responsibility from different interested stakeholders. The guiding principles are a work of supremely fine diplomacy, actually, in that all the very different interested stakeholders in this process can find things that they like in the finished article, and also things that they like less, things they'd like to strengthen, but also other things that they would like to weaken. But everybody has found enough good in the guiding principles to support it as an important step at a global level on this issue, on an issue that's actually been rising up the international agenda since the mid-1990s. So the UK government's aim in implementing the guiding principles has been to try and do that implementation in a way that preserves that same balance that you find in the guiding principles. Our strategy makes a really clear call for British companies to respect human rights, to do proper due diligence on the human rights risks surrounding their operations in all of their aspects, wherever they operate in the world, to mitigate those risks through corporate policy, and to create a virtuous circle of reporting back on performance and lessons learned in order to inform further developments of policy. There's no leap into new legislation in what we've crafted. Something some of you in this room will no doubt find disappointing, but we believe it's coherent with the spirit of the guiding principles as they were formulated. And I'm happy to talk more about that if there are questions afterwards. We thought it important from the start to respect the structure of the guiding principles to the extent that our own strategy divides itself into sections that parallel the same Ruggie framework. This allows us to delineate those parts that apply to the state and those that apply to business. We think this kind of deconstruction is essential to understanding where different actions are called for under the guiding principles. Pillar 1 being focused entirely on the state and its obligations. Pillar 3 also includes important state obligations. Pillar 2 is all about the need for business to respect human rights. We believe that for any government, the first step is to state where the country currently is on the issue of business and human rights. So our draft strategy says where we think the UK currently stands on the protection of human rights in areas of UK jurisdiction, and particularly in the business context. It also makes statements about issues highlighted within Pillar 1 where Ruggie is calling for government action of different kinds, and where we want to say where we think the UK currently is on this particular issue that's been flagged up in Pillar 1, and ways in which the government will try and address those issues. Some of those issues aren't things that you can address in a few short months. Some of them are very long term. In doing this, we're trying to recognise all the different elements that are referred to in the guiding principles, and we give similar treatment to Pillar 3, saying where we think the UK currently is on remedy, including on the side of legislation. In addressing Pillar 2, we set out the expression of the government's expectations of UK businesses to respect human rights. We explained that the government shares the guiding principles commitment to human rights due diligence as an absolutely key mechanism. We also set out the ways in which the government is committed to helping companies understand human rights and factor them into the way they do business, both in the UK and abroad. We think implementation of the framework is something that will take time. We're therefore treating this strategy that we expect to launch shortly as a first iteration of the guiding principles in the UK context, and as something that we expect to work on continuously and evolve into further iterations as we move forward. We don't expect to do this in isolation. We found the process of engagement with outside stakeholders such an enriching part of the first months of evolution of our strategy that we want to build that kind of mechanism into the way we move forward, monitor how we are doing, and work on areas that need development and further expression. We believe the UK is set to be one of the first, if not the first country to actually launch a strategy based on the guiding principles. And conscious of this, we think it's very important that we give full recognition to the implications of the framework in calling for state as well as business action. If the UK strategy is to be the first one out there on the international scene, we need to set the bar at the right height, and we believe that our strategy will do that. Thank you very much.